for just bearing with us for a minute as we transition from that short press presentation to the panel that you all came here to hear. Just to reiterate a little bit, the report that we're presenting here today is really part of the work that MADRE has been doing since 2003 in support of the very courageous activism of women from the Organization of Women's Freedom in Iran. OFI, as its acronym is pronounced, is a network of extremely brave women who really have risked their lives every day, both in Iraq and outside of Iraq, to take a stand against U.S. occupation and against the Islamist repression that the occupation has unleashed in Iraq. MADRE and OFI together have been working to respond to some of the most urgent needs of Iraqi women and their families who are confronting human rights violations by either U.S. forces or their Iraqi successors in the government or in these militias. And our report documents some of those abuses. It's an attempt, really, can you hear me okay? The report really is an attempt to kind of retell the story of the Iraq War from the perspective of Iraqi women, to bring to light this epidemic of gender-based violence that has confronted Iraqis since the invasion, and also to kind of demonstrate that, you know, what's true in every country is true in Iraq, namely that women's human rights and democratic rights are really go hand in hand, and that the Bush administration, for all of the rhetoric that we have heard since September 11th especially, really has a lot of contempt, both for women's rights and for genuine democracy. Excuse me a second. The report also tries, at least, to make some connections that we haven't seen made either in the mainstream press, the alternative media, or really in the anti-war movement, about the significance of gender-based violence and violence against women to kind of the main crises that are facing Iraqis. And those are, of course, the U.S. occupation, the civil war, and this kind of Islamist effort to transform what was a mostly secular society into a theocracy. Gender-based violence, I'm kind of using both of these terms, and I just want to clarify because I think there's remains some confusion when we're talking about gender-based violence. We're talking about violence that extends beyond just violence against women. So women are often the main targets of gender-based violence. But really, gender being kind of like the different roles that men and women are assigned in society, becomes a basis for human rights violations and violence against anybody in certain circumstances, anybody whose gender expression doesn't conform to what the perpetrators would like to see, the behavior of men and women. So one of the things that we've seen in Iraq is a virtual witch hunt against gays and lesbians and trans people that OFI, among other, is, I would say, one of the few organizations, one of the only that I've seen, women's organizations, that has really been working to make common cause and to bring those violations to light.